Good day, folks. Everything new under the sun. There will be wars and rumors of wars. We're going to talk a lot about a bunch of wars happening right now, and rumors of war, of course. This is from gotquestions.org. What does it mean that there will be wars and rumors of wars before the end times? So Matthew 24 is where this is described. It says, in part of his response to the disciples' question, tell us, what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age? It says, Matthew 24, verse 3. Jesus responded and said, and you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. Because of Jesus' words in this passage, whenever there is an explosion of conflict, especially in the vicinity of Israel, which we're going to talk about today, many people begin to wonder if the new war is a sign of the end times. It says, if people would only read the rest of Matthew 24:6, which says, see that you are not alarmed, for this must take place, but the end is not yet. And that's true. The wrath of God is not yet. There will be wars and rumors of wars, and that will only kick off really the emergence of the Antichrist figure, in my opinion. There is still 3.5 years left, I believe, because you have to have the emergence of the Antichrist, the deal set up, the 7-year peace deal, the mark of the beast, and then 3.5 years until the abomination of desolation at the midpoint of that 7-year period, which then kicks off the wrath of God, and then 3.5 years after that. And I believe that's what we're going to say. So the end is not yet. The end is not as soon as you see wars and rumors of wars. That's kind of the beginning of the end, if you will. And that's my opinion on the subject. And you can go read that, gotquestions.com, and search that question. But we have the situation in Russia, Ukraine. It is ongoing. All mainstream media and everything, that's kind of become boring yesterday's news. That's still going. Russia is, effectively de facto, I would suggest, owner of a lot of the eastern region of Ukraine now. They have taken it over, and Ukraine doesn't have a lot of power. They're getting lots of money and weaponry, but will they ever take that back over and get their whole land back? Probably not. And no one's interested in going after Russia. Well, now we have China-Taiwan, another war front opening as the Russia-Ukraine war continues. And this is interesting. Taiwan. U.S. hits out at irresponsible China amid attack rehearsal claims. So Taiwan is coming out and basically saying, and they've got, China is shooting missiles over top of Taiwan. And Taiwan is coming out and saying, you know what, China's basically rehearsing a full-scale invasion of Taiwan. The United States accused Beijing of provocative and irresponsible actions after Taiwan said China rehearsed an attack on the island. Taiwan said it responded to Chinese drills, now in their 4th day, by deploying aircraft carrier. It says China views the visit as a challenge by Pelosi, as a challenge to its claims of sovereignty over Taiwan. And again, Taiwan has come out and said, you know what, this is basically a drill of a full-scale invasion. And here's the real question, who relies on Taiwan? Who is going to hurt the most if this blockade continues? And if China wants to do any damage to the West, which they're happy that if any damage happens to the West, well, look at that chart there. You'll see on the left-hand side, the U.S. does 62% of its trade with Taiwan, 105 billion. Significant amount of trade. Principal trade partners for Taiwan per region by trade volume in 2021. So it looks like Germany is the next in line with 20 billion, and Brazil with Japan, I guess it would be, with 85 billion. 85 billion. Japan is actually greater than Germany. There you go. I guess that's a percentage of their trade per country. But there you go. It's going to hit the U.S. the most. And who does Russia and China want to hurt the most? Well, They don't like U.S. Hegemony across the world. They don't like that the U.S. Owns the world reserve currency. China wants to have the yuan be the world reserve currency, and they're trying to make that happen. And I think China and Russia see this as their opportunity to really take over the world, if you will, and then the world government, and to lead the world into the next 50, 100 years. And so significant. And again, wars, rumors of wars. Is China practicing a full-scale invasion? Many believed, and it's been the word for a long time, that is exactly what China is trying to do and looking for a prime time to take over Taiwan. Will there be any response from the U.S. at that point in time? The other war that's happening, and this has been expected again for a long time, Israel has come out and said that, Iran is now basically a de facto a nuclear power, and there's nothing Israel can do anymore other than all-out war to get rid of the enrichment facilities and the march towards a nuclear weapon. So at this point, past military chiefs in Israel say, we don't have any time left. We can't go in and do targeted strikes anymore to wipe out Iran's nuclear program. It's too advanced. They are now a nuclear power, effectively. Well, I've said it before that Israel needs to, if they are going to do a strike on Iran, they need to take out the proxies all around it in Gaza, in Lebanon. They need to take out the proxy, what I'm thinking, militants, etc., that are right on their borders before they attempt a full strike on Iran. Why? If they just struck Iran, then all the proxies in Gaza, Lebanon, etc., would fire thousands and thousands of missiles into Israel. So it's always been the case that if Israel is thinking about doing a larger strike on Iran and dealing with their nuclear weapons, and they said they will not let Iran get a nuclear weapon. That's their red line. That means they have to take out the forces, proxy forces in Gaza, Lebanon, etc., Syria, and that's exactly what they're doing. And I think this is all in a build-up. We'll get to the precipice, the edge of World War III, where the whole world thinks Israel's going to go to a nuclear war. China's going to go to war. Russia and U.S. is going to intervene in these cases, and we're on the edge of nuclear annihilation, nuclear war, mutually assured destruction. All this, and this at this point, at the very peak of all this war rhetoric, the Antichrist figure is going to step in and say, you know what, I'm going to bring peace to the Middle East. And if there's peace in the Middle East, there's going to be peace everywhere. Because what does the world do? They blame all the peace in the world. If there was only peace in the Middle East, there would be peace everywhere else. They blame everything on the Middle East. It doesn't make any sense. But so there's a great windup of war now in the last couple of days in Israel. Israel, Gaza, death toll rises. Israel kills second top militant from the Palestinian Islamic Jihad group. 6 children and several PIJ fighters, including leaders of Khalid Massour and Tassir Jabari, are among the 32 Palestinians reported to have died. Nearly 600 Palestinian rockets and mortars have been fired at Israel since Friday. So there's a great volley of new rockets heading into Israel. Have you heard about this? Was this on the mainstream media? Did you know this was happening? This is kind of old news now. No one's interested in covering it. Israel says it launched operations due to immediate threat from the PIJ. Latest violence is the most serious flare-up between Israel and Gaza since an 11-day conflict in May 2021 left more than 200 Palestinians and dozens of Israelis dead. And here is, let's go to, this is Debka file. Israel-Palestine jihad dig in for prolonged combat, wars, and rumors of wars. What is the next large war that's going to continue on and be kind of dug in for the long term? Both sides were digging in for a drawn-out conflict. Saturday, August 6th. Day 2 of the IDF's counter-terror operation Sunrise against Palestinian Islamic Jihad. We have not yet used our long-range rockets, said the jihadists after shooting 200 missiles. So Islamic Jihad has a lot of weapons to fire. The Iron Dome defense system scored 95% interceptions, conspicuously exhibiting major upgrades in its performance. Up until Saturday evening, the Palestinian rocket barrages missed their mark, except for damage to a house in Sderot, whose occupants stayed safe in their shelter. Let's see. But there was a big call-up of reservists in Israel. So, what are they? Are they looking to expand the operation? Well, it says the same message came from Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Aviv Kochavi Saturday morning when he forecasted the operation would last at least a week after the IDF called up 25,000 reservists. A wave of detentions of their top operatives on the West Bank preceded Operation Sunrise and continued Saturday with another 19 arrests, including high-profile Najab Hayaba, former Israeli jail inmate. So basically, they're clearing out Gaza right now. They're doing a clean sweep, it looks like. Many reservists, thousands called up, and there's significant war happening there. And again, this would be a preemptive thing, basically to clear out the neighborhood, if you will, directly around Israel to a point of safety where they could then focus on Iran and do larger strikes on Iran without worrying about a ton of problem right on their immediate border, which is exactly what Iran would call into place if Israel started attacking Iran directly. They would call on all the proxies, Syria, Lebanon, Gaza, to throw everything they had at Israel to basically distract Israel from hitting Iran. Okay, this is Debka file again, August 5th. IDF prime for anti-jihad operation in Gaza, lasting a week. So again, it talks about going after all the cross-border attacks. Israel airstrikes wrecked scores of Palestinian Islamic Jihad targets, while 130 PGR cross-border rockets were aimed at Israel. Iron Dome recorded intercepting 60 of the incoming rockets. So there you go. A Debka file, debka.com, debka.com is a good source to follow for that. 15 dead as Israel pounds Gaza. Military prepares for a week of fighting. And I ask the question, well, what happens after a week of fighting? Are they going to focus on Syria? Are they going to focus on Lebanon? Are they planning a large-scale operation in Iran, knowing that it's now too late to do any small kind of cyber attacks and that sort of thing, which was keeping Iran away from creating a nuclear weapon? I think they've come to the place where they have to do a significant thing. So this is an interesting article. It says, as we previously detailed, the Israeli strikes were preemptive in that they were not a response to initial rocket fire from Gaza, as is the usual case, but were launched with a declared intent to degrade the militant group Islamic Jihad's capabilities after days of security incidents along the border. So I suggest that maybe this preemptive strike is in fact a preemptive strike, as will occur in Syria, etc., to a larger significant strike in Iran. Remember, they're going to clear out the close neighbors before they hit the farther away neighbors. Since then, Israeli officials have said some 300 rockets and mortars have been launched from the Strip. So, is this foreshadowing a larger invasion or strike in Iran? As there is lots of cover, media-wise, by the war or the potential war in China, Taiwan, the invasion, the Russian-Ukraine conflict. There's lots of media cover. There's lots of camouflage, if you will. There's lots of distractionary news items going on the world stage, to where Israel could do a larger Iran strike without too much of a focus on them and world outrage, because there's so many other things happening. Wars and rumors of wars, and these will increase in the last days, but the end is not yet. That's right, because just as we get to peak wars and rumors of wars and potential for nuclear annihilation, global annihilation, that this figure, this Antichrist figure, this world leader, this great politician is going to step in and say, peace, peace. I'm going to bring peace. And people will be clamoring for peace at that point in time. They'll be crying out for a world leader to say, come save us. They won't accept Jesus. They won't recognize God and call on God to save us. But they will look towards a man who they think is effectively a God, and who will save them from famine, from World War III. And he will step in and he'll say, yeah, I'll save you from World War III. I'll make sure you're fed. You just need to accept this mark of the beast system. And we're going to create peace in Israel for 7 years. And the whole world is going to think this is great. And they're going to buy this and get on board with this. And that's what's coming. This is what the Bible says is coming. The Antichrist figure gonna come into place. And this is why I have this timeline. There's going to be great wars prior to the 7-year period. Is it ramping up in 2022? It seems to be getting worse and worse. We're hearing of more and more wars and rumors of wars. I don't think 2022 is going to get any better. It's already been declared by Israel that Iran, they can't do anything at this point other than all-out war to do anything about Iran's nuclear weapons. And so there's no choices left except to go to war with Iran. So the timetable is shortening at this point. We're getting very close. No one knows when it's going to happen. So all we can do, you and I, is follow the news and see what occurs. But it seems like we're heading up to a peak, to a point where all-out war starts coming into focus. And the world and the citizens of the world start getting really worried about it. And then we have this Antichrist figure which comes and declares that he is going to make everything right and save the planet from war. And that would then kick off this 7-year period when this peace treaty is agreed to. So very interesting stuff, guys, happening in Israel, happening around the world. So many wars happening and rumors of wars. Again, this rehearsal for a full-scale invasion of Taiwan. We'll see what transpires here. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.